Alright, my Mosin project is all done. Finished the last of it up today. So here you go. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Moving a little closer. Couldn't get a Cerakote coat or Cerakote coat that I like, so I used Duracoat. I've had experience with it before, and while it's not my preference, it works in limited applications. So I used two colors here. The base color is a color called Underbrush. It's like a silvery brown color. It's pretty cool. And then the stripes you see are done in Magpul Flat Dark Earth. It's still curing, but it looks pretty good so far. Let me move you in a little closer and see it up close. Get a little better angle. Here you go. I left the front sight unpainted and the muzzle unpainted. I didn't paint the muzzle because of the bayonet where it attaches around the muzzle. It'll probably just scratch the paint off. I did paint the swivel around where the bayonet goes, but that will probably get worn off with time. Not really a big deal, and honestly, how often am I going to use the bayonet anyway? If I do use it, it's pretty much to stake the gun in the ground because I'm doing something else. So, other than that, of course, I left the front sight, rear sights unpainted for obvious reasons. This ended up being the way I had to mount the scope. Because of the eye relief on it, the scope had to pretty much be right in your face. So the only way I could really mount it was to, well, but it's pretty much the way you see it. I had to mount it as far back as I could, and then I used a couple of steel scope rings to mount it into the end like that. It's pretty solid. It works okay. It doesn't have any problems with any interfering loading it, so it works. This is just one of the drawbacks to having one of these kind of style scopes, is the long eye relief. And then use the, of course you see the bent bolt, I used some bedding pillars, and I still have the standard Mosin trigger in it. I'll order a chimney trigger for it later on. I've already modified the stock to accept it, and that won't be a big deal. And then, of course, like I said, it's a Russian optic, and I was going to use a Harris, but I got a Caldwell bipod real cheap, and they're pretty close to being just as good as the Harris's. In fact, I can't really see a big difference in them, and I'm using 4 hunting rifles, so I went with one of those. It was fairly inexpensive and just as good as the Harris. Like I said, for the chimney trigger, it has a built-in safety. You can see I hollowed out a spot for it to come up right through here. Normally this stock does fit quite better than that, but like I said, I modified it to accept the chimney trigger, so there's a little bit of a gap in there, which is what you need to clear it. Speaking of this stock, it's a nice stock, but it is a mother to paint. I don't know what material this is, but it's very porous, and it takes a lot of paint to get in it. And even if you sand it down, it's a real pain in the butt to get paint to stick to it. So I think it turned out okay. The metal accepted the paint with no problems, but the stock, not so much. But she's all done. Take her out here pretty soon and go shooting and see how it is. I can imagine it's probably going to shoot pretty similar to my M9130. But all in all, it was right around, with the bipod, 350, so say 300 for the gun. You could probably buy a superior bolt-action rifle for that much. But the reason you'd want to maybe go with a Mosin is because the ammo is dirt cheap. A $300 bolt gun is usually going to be something like a 243 or 30-06, 7mm Remington mag maybe, and the ammo is just really expensive. This one, you know, it's $12 for 50 rounds if you're paying high for it. I've seen it down for $5 or $6, and you can shoot it all day long. You buy Spam coming up for $80, you get 440 rounds. So that's the Mosin's greatest advantage, trade, is you can shoot a lot for not much money. As I said, this was a Chinese. Initially, I was kind of disappointed with the quality of the bolt, but when I started taking apart the bolt, comparing it to my Russian, it actually looked about the same. The barrel on this Chinese Mosin is actually in a little bit better shape than my Russian sniper rifle. So all in all, it's a pretty good gun. Most of these Chinese guns are tore all to hell because they were used. They were used in the Korean War, they were used in Vietnam, all the way up until they started getting SKSs and AK-47s, and then they started using these for booby traps, modifying them to go off with spring-loaded traps and so on and so forth. A lot of them, you see, look like they've spent their lives at the bottom of a gravel pit, but yeah, it's pretty good so far. Didn't cost me a whole lot. The paint cost more than most of the parts I used on it. So anyway, guys, that's it. Let me know if you got any questions or any comments. Feel free to add them. So that's all I got so far. I got my M3 over there. I finished the first coat of it, and I realized I ordered a a commercial spec buffer with a mil spec stock. Bummer. I just realized that today. So I had to order a new buffer for it to come in. So it'll be a couple more days before I can finish up, and I'll show you then. But I did get my LMT upper, so it's going pretty good. So anyway, guys, that's it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you got any questions. I'll see you later.